Hey dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to get into Jungkook being wet and naked on the new show that is coming out. I wanted to talk about this now and explain everything. I also want to get into the Korean government and their statement that was recently reported and what happened with that. I have a lot of thoughts today and a lot of things I want to get into. So grab your dumplings, he's spilling my merch, and let's jump into the tea. If you're new here and you're interested in this type of stuff, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified anytime new video drops. And if you're a hater, like to be first to leave your hate comment, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell also, and you'll be first to do so. Now let's jump into it. The first thing I want to get into was Jungkook and the recent show that is about to come out. So if you don't know, BTS has a show called In the Soup. I react to the entire season 1 on my Patreon, by the way, linked down below. And basically the show is just BTS going on vacation and we get to follow them along. The first season they were in a beautiful home and had this beautiful area and they made food from scratch, literally like caught a fish and made sushi and all that stuff. And the particular venue that is used is a place that people usually use for their weddings. So it's no doubt very beautiful. They ended this series after the first season and I honestly thought that was it. It ended in a way that was a good ending and I thought it was a one-time show. And then they'd go back to Bon Voyage or Run BTS. Bon Voyage, if you're not aware, is a travel show they have. And it seems like In the Soup might replace that, especially since they can't travel right now. It was announced that recently In the Soup will be coming up again and starting its season 2. Now season 1 was aired I think on the JTBC network and I don't know if season 2 is going to be aired on TV or if it's just continued by Weverse or something. But they recently also dropped teasers and photos of what season 2 will look like and where they will be staying specifically. People have been freaking out over where BTS will be staying. First off, it looks like they built a mansion for BTS to stay in, which is just beautiful. The season definitely has a lot more money in it and they want the boys to have a good time. They got all new props and all fun things for each of the members to do. I felt like in last season maybe the boys didn't know how to relax or how to even go about doing the show. Arm was even talking about how anxious he felt that they weren't doing anything, and I remember him saying that this is what his schedule should be like many years in the future and not now while they're young. They seemed a little confused at first at how to relax and then they kind of got into the rhythm later and seemed to enjoy doing nothing and slowing down. I think this season they will get right into it. Speaking of that, we did see something that was very interesting to us, which was a pool by the mansion. This made armies wonder if they were actually going to be using the pool in their time there, and I think it would be a waste for them not to use the pool. I think they're going to want to use the pool, and people online were talking about how we might see the boys shirtless or naked because of the pool. Everyone was hoping for this because most of us don't jump into the pool with our shirts on, but you forget you are probably not from Korea or a Korean idol because Korean idols can't show skin. Not really, but for some reason Big Hit has something against being shirtless. Hey, you know what? I get it because it gets more people wondering, and when you don't show your naked body, people can imagine that you look like a Greek god when you may not look like one. So it's better for their career. I also often like to imagine that I have a body of a god, but it's just far from that, and I look more like E.T. with my shirt off. I'm joking, but not really. People were imagining how Jungkook would look shirtless and being able to see all of Daddy's tattoos. People were thinking that we might get an accidental leakage or peek of new Jungkook. We were definitely hoping to see how many he has and if it's just his arms. Some of us think he might actually have one on his back. So we're all curious, but it looks like that curiosity may never be answered and we will never know. How dare you, Big Hit? We just want to see his tattoos and then I can finally die in peace. Now, when the official teaser dropped, people's speculation was answered. And we now kind of know for sure if we will get any shirtless moments. We saw J-Hope coming out of the pool and all wet and stuff, and he was wearing a full body bathing suit. I gotta be honest, I didn't even know they made bathing suits like that. This would have saved me so many times that I didn't want to take my shirt off at the beach. I could have gotten what J-Hope got. People then took this kind of answer that we won't be seeing any nude of Jungkook or any of the members, especially not any new tattoos. Chances are if they show any tattoos, it's going to be a shirt rolled up to the elbow and nothing we haven't seen already. Keep in mind, if this is going to be aired on JTBC again, this is a Korean station and that means no tattoos. Jungkook would not be allowed to show any of it. So bummer on that, but keep in mind, if he does show any of that, Jungkook could for sure get into a lot of trouble and even be banned on TV. That is something that was being talked about too. He would definitely get into a lot of trouble and that is not worth it just to show us some tattoos or anything like that. So I hope he keeps it covered up for the show and I hope this season becomes so successful that they definitely go ahead and do another one. I would love to see a season 3. Although it may take a little bit of time before they do season 3, if they decide they want to. Jin will be going to the military soon, and unless they want to continue In the Soup in summer 2022 with just 6 members, I think all of that will be halted for a little bit after this season. But we will see what happens. I was definitely very surprised how the idea of BTS BTS not enlisting was not really anything they talked about during the UN meeting. Being the nation's pride, BTS being Korea's pride, they should have the opportunity to not go so they can continue to serve their country economically and all that. Or at least change the rules to allow them to serve a more light enlistment where they only work like half of the week at the campsite and continue to be an idol in the other half. One of you told me that you're not allowed to work while enlisted, and I think maybe they could have made an exception for Jin to continue to work on projects while enlisted. I think that should be the compromise. He can continue to enlist and not get hate from people saying that if he doesn't enlist, he hates the country. But he can also keep his career going while in there. What was even more shocking to me wasn't just the fact that this wasn't really talked about, but I was more shocked that BTS allegedly had different treatment when they went to the UN. This was reported by Republic World and other sites, as well as rumors on the Tweetster. And just keep in mind, this could be a translation error. I'm just going off of these reports and what they say, as I expect their Korean to be better than mine and have a better grasp on what's actually happening. A little backstory, in case you didn't know, is that BTS was invited as something called an envoy to the UN, which just means they were invited as representatives of their country. And this is why they got their diplomatic passports, which allow them to travel freely for official tasks. So usually when this happens, the government will upfront all the costs for them. So the cost for the hotel, the cost for everything, right? I mean, that is usually fair. The person who gets invited should have everything covered for them. Also, this is the government, right? It's not like they don't have a little bit of money to get the boys over to the UN and cover their costs. How much would it cost to cover everything? 10 or 20,000? What is 10 or $20,000 to the government? They probably spend that in 2 minutes normally. Now, this wouldn't be as big of an issue if envoys were just normally not covered, but it's reported that others do get covered. I'm not 100% sure on that, but people were saying this online and getting upset. But I can also see why the government would not cover it. After all, if you're granted this title from the government, chances are you're making millions already, so the extra $1,000 to get you there is not a big deal. But it's more of the principle that people were mad about. Why does BTS need to cover any of it if they're being invited? It's like being punished to go. Now, the government apparently, after some searching, did cover some things. It wasn't that they didn't cover anything, but some of the envoy activities were covered. As to what those activities were, I don't know. Perhaps getting around the city was covered, but maybe that was it. And they reportedly claimed that the claims saying that BTS did not receive an allowance for their time was false. And this came out by the tourism board that I guess they deal with this sort of stuff. I totally understand not covering everything, as if the boys decide to go to an extremely fancy restaurant, as our kings deserve, the government cannot or should not take the tax dollars and spend it on that. But I do hope a lot of the important bits were covered. What I am about to say isn't referencing the UN, but in general. But it's always frustrating when you do something and the person or company you do this thing for is always telling people that they should do it for free or for the exposure or for the honor. None of this pays the bills, but you know what? Sometimes doing something doesn't have to pay the bills. But not being paid or being fully covered in the cost it takes for the artist to be a part of this event is a small sign of disrespect, right? It's like their time doesn't really matter to the company. They do this a lot in traditional American media. For example, you don't get paid to perform in the Super Bowl, although singers do get a lot of exposure and then their albums go to #1. But having a singer show up and practice for weeks ahead of time, they should get something for that, because the singer is also bringing in ratings. It's not just the Super Bowl giving them exposure. The Super Bowl wouldn't have a no-name singer on the stage because it wouldn't get them views. So if you're using the singer for views too, then you gotta pay them. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave it down in the comment section down below. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm featuring this comment right here. Thank you so much for leaving comments. And as always, I do have a Patreon if you want to go over there and check that out. I have a lot of videos over there that I can't really post on here. This is due to copyright or getting taken down, so I do keep it over there on my Patreon. You get videos over there like music video reactions, performance reactions, ship reactions. You can also recommend things you'd like to see over there. Apparently, we do have over 400 videos that are already up on there that you can get reactions to the moment you sign up. So we'll have videos like in the soup, run BTS, and all that sort of thing. So if you're interested in any of that or want to be a part of that, link is in the top description down below. There's also a video over there that kind of goes over how you can support the channel even more if you would like to do that. That video is on the front page. Feel free to check it out. With that said, there's 2 videos that will appear up on screen at the end of this video, so click on one of those and I'll see you over there. Bye.